There's a saying that everything I needed to learn about life, I learned in kindergarten. Now, the sentiment comes from the thought that we learn some probably important things during the formative years of our lives, and they get played out later in our lives, the lessons that we learned when we were younger. And what I loved about kindergarten and even in those early years is that the teachers, the people, maybe even our parents use story as a way to help us grasp concepts and show us how to make those learnings even stickier. And so, in this platform, we'll use stories to help us magnify important life lessons so that they can become stickier in our lives. So let's get started with our story for today. Our story is by Carter Goodrich, and it's called Nobody Hugs a Cactus. Oh, man. Hank, who happens to be a cactus, y'all, in a pot on a ledge, lived in a pot. The pot sat in a window. The window looked out at the empty desert. It was hot, dry, peaceful, and quiet, just the way Hank liked it. But every now and then, somebody would interrupt Hank's peace and quiet. "Hi, Hank," Rosie the tumbleweed called out. "Isn't it a beautiful day?" Hank ignored her. He just wanted to be left alone. "Okay, so long," said Rosie, as she cheerfully and as she cheerfully, should I say, tumbled away. Hank was happy again. But just as he was beginning to relax, "Hello," shouted the tortoise. "Private property," yelled Hank. "Keep out." The tortoise was so frightened, he hid in his shell. Hank was still yelling at the tortoise when a jackrabbit dashed by. "Hiya, Prickles," she shouted. "My name isn't Prickles," Hank yelled back, "and stay out of my yard." "Tumbleweeds, tortoises, jackrabbits. What's next?" said Hank. A coyote came loping by. "No dogs allowed," Hank yelled. "I'm not a dog," said the coyote, "and you are as prickly on the inside as you are on the outside." Before Hank could yell at the coyote, a cowboy strode past. "Keep off the grass!" Hank shouted. "What grass?" said the cowboy. "Seems to me somebody needs a hug. Too bad nobody hugs a cactus." "Hi," said Lizard. "Oh, who invited you?" said Hank. "And just in case you were wondering, I don't want a hug." "Well, that's good," said the lizard, "because I don't want to give you one." Then he skittered away. An owl landed on the roof. "If you're looking for a hug," said Hank, "well, I guess I could give you one." "Oh, me?" said the owl. "You must be joking." And for the first time, Hank began to feel a little lonely. The next morning, Hank was feeling more sad on the inside than prickly. Maybe a hug wouldn't be so bad after all. The wind began to pick up. An old cup blew by and stuck to Hank's face, and his arms were too short to get it off. "Great," said Hank. After a while, Rosie came bouncing by. "I'll get it off you, Hank," she shouted, and she jumped up to knock the cup off of Hank's face. Then she tumbled away. Hank didn't have time to thank Rosie. He felt bad about all the other times he had been so rude to her. So he came up with a plan. Hank decided to grow the best flower he could and then give it to Rosie as a thank you gift. And it took days, but at last it was ready. He couldn't wait for Rosie to pass by again. When at last she finally did come bouncing back, Hank held out the flower. "Look, Rosie," he said, "I grew it just for you." Rosie was so surprised. She jumped up and gave Hank a great big hug. It felt so nice. Hank didn't want to let go. And as it turns out, he couldn't. Rosie and Hank had become stuck together. But they didn't care. After all, it's better to be stuck in a hug than stuck all alone. The end. What a great story. Oh my goodness. Nobody hugs a cactus. Prickly. It means ready to take offense. It's looking for a reason to be offended and complain. It's being easily triggered and intentionally pushing others away in order to feel safe. Now, at some point in your life, I'm sure you have run across someone who was prickly. I mean, if we're really going to be honest with ourselves, sometimes maybe you are the prickly one. We can all be a little prickly at times. And like Hank, our prickly cactus friend, prickly people are serious about keeping others away. I mean, for whatever reason, something has happened in their life that causes them to show up prickly. And they have become hyper vigilant about their emotional, their physical, and their relational safety. Now, I was talking to a good friend of mine some years ago. His name is Harry Lewis Williams, aka Rev OG or OG Rev out there on the West Coast. And he would say that people show up in life the way they do sometimes because they have poorly processed pain. Huh. That stuck with me. No pun intended. I mean, it's true, right? Like when you don't process the pain well in your life, you end up stuck in unhealthy cycles of thinking and feeling and behaving, and all of it is in an effort to protect yourself from getting hurt again or not experiencing that level of pain again. Poorly processed pain can cause you to show up prickly. And like Hank, we end up stuck in a pot on a ledge alone. Because we have insulated ourselves from the world we live in. And we have convinced ourselves that this is the best place. As a matter of fact, we have convinced ourselves that because it's quiet, that this is peace. Can I tell you something? Don't ever mistake quiet for peace. See, a lack of engagement does not necessarily result in peace. But let's define peace, right? Because I just want to make sure we're having the same definition of this. So peace involves health of your mind and your emotions and your relationships. It is to prosper in things. And when we hear the word prosper or prosperity, sometimes we only think of money. But I want to tell you that prosperity is about flourishing and growing strong.